Okay, so we've been reading about Barilla's recent prototype of the digital passport. Hi, Peter and Colin. I just wanted to ask you a few questions about it. So I will share my screen so we can see the article we've been talking about. How do you think this is a benefit, what Barilla's doing?
Peter, you go ahead.
Yeah, from my side, good morning, Claire. This is very interesting because the fast-moving world is now also understanding that being authentic and showing where your products come from, that has a value for consumers. And this Barilla product is an example where you can use your mobile phone, you can scan the QR code on the product, which is unique for every instance of the product, and it shows then where the vegetables came from which field, which farmer, and via which route it was transported to which place where it was assembled, and so forth. It's showing the real path of that product, and that makes it come across as very genuine. And I think that consumers these days look very much for authenticity, I believe. What do you think, Colin?
Yeah, I mean, there is a trend for, proximity or local produce. People feel that something that comes from somewhere close by must be better than something that has traveled for miles and miles. And I think in this way, you can essentially allow the consumer through your pack to go in and have a look at where everything came from, although it may be physically miles away. Somehow through this technology it becomes closer, so you feel, I think, a little bit closer to the origins of the product, and as a consequence you feel a little bit closer to the brand, and probably you trust it a bit more, and when you're in the supermarket you reach out and buy it. I think that's the idea, and I think it's possibly going to work. It's probably a bit early to know, but I think it's a very sensible move that they're making.
Okay, so is it all about transparency then for the consumer? Is that the key?
It is transparently, definitely. Yeah. Transparency is a very important element today in the communication between brands and consumers. One of the great things of the internet and social media as an aspect of it is that there is nothing that brands can hide behind. Everything becomes so quickly visible to everybody. So the only way for a brand to be positive at the radar screen of consumers is to be very transparent, first of all, from their side.
Yeah, and I think also, I mean, particularly in the context of pasta in the US, I know that Barilla is sort of struggling with the perception that consumers have that these types of products are probably not good for you. If you eat too much pasta, you're going to have a problem in terms of weight. But the challenge there is that actually there's a huge difference between the way pasta is made and the way you make a cake. And if you eat lots of cakes, it's probably not very good for you. But if you eat a lot of pasta, actually, it doesn't have the same effect. But consumers don't really understand that. And I don't know whether what they're trying to do here, explaining a little bit where the product comes from and how it's made, I think also has the objective to try and get the message across that it's not unhealthy to eat pasta, which is one of the challenges I think they have in many countries.
Okay, so what other benefits are there for Barilla doing this? Because it's obviously a new thing. What are the big benefits for them to go this way compared to other brands?
Well, they talk about connected food, and this is sort of the beginning of being connected. It is connected in the sense that you allow a consumer to find out about your product instantly and about all the individual elements and how it was specifically in that particular pack, how it was made. But what it does allow you to do in the next step as a brand or as a manufacturer, is to develop services around it. So you can have personalized recipes to keep a healthy weight, for example, or develop a healthy diet for yourself. You can have other services that Barilla can do once the consumer is able to connect with you digitally in this particular fashion. So this, in my view, is the first step, just showing transparency and proximity regarding the product. The next step will be to have lots of different services around that product. What do you think, Colin?
Well, I think particularly in the pasta world, which I know something about as as a consumer, there is um, basically the way you make pasta can be, there's what's called hard and soft grain. And Italian pasta is actually by law made with a certain, the way it's made, I don't know the details, but it's actually different to the way pasta is made in other countries. And the result is that if you leave Italian pasta in the water beyond the time that it's supposed to be, it doesn't actually sort of melt into a mushy stuff. While if the pasta is made in a different way, it ends up just being not edible. So I think one of the objectives they have here is to justify the price, because of course their product is more expensive than private labels. I think they need to explain how it's made, because that gives the reason why it's more expensive. It is actually a more costly production process than alternative ways of making pasta. And I think they have to get that message across to consumers. That's one of the objectives they have.
Okay. So are there any other, is anybody else doing this?
In the food, go on, Colin.
No. I think QR codes per se have been around for a while, and I think yes, there are other brands that you can go and I mean, in coffee, you can certainly. I don't know whether it was Lavazza or I think it's even Nespresso. I mean, you can essentially go and see where the coffee grains come from. So that it's not a new idea. No.
No, I think we have always, I mean, brands have for a long time tried to find digital ways of having consumers connect via the product. And this is a good example because it makes it all very personalized. That I think is very strong. Obviously, we see in the non-food area lots of more sophisticated solutions where in the realm of the Internet of Things, all kinds of consumer devices now are connected, and where the manufacturer has possibilities of changing some of the settings to your TV if you wanted to, or to your refrigerator, or to your computer, and that fact that consumers are so much getting used to connectivity between themselves and the product, and via the product to the manufacturer, that opens a lot of new opportunities for brands, both in the durables industry, where electronics are already part of the product, but now step by step also in the food industry, where brands start to discover that you can create that interactivity, and that as a result you can start to have more and more services, which I think is going to happen, is going to bring a lot of innovation in this world.
Okay, have you got anything else to add, Colin, that you'd like to say about this subject?
Well, I'm probably an old skeptical guy from technology perspective. I think I wonder, if I walk into a store and I know that I can point my mobile phone at my pasta, I wonder how many people actually do that. Probably very few do it in the store. Maybe a few do it when they get home. But even if it's a small proportion of people who actually connect with that possibility that is given to them, I think that's really not very relevant. I think what's important is for the brand to basically say, I'm opening up my doors to you, and if you want, you can spend hours investigating where this product comes from. And just the fact that you make that statement and you say, here are the keys to the door, and then I don't think many people honestly open that door, but just the idea that you can open the door, I think, is a very, very sensible move. I don't know, Peter, do you think people are going to go for this? Can you imagine 50% of people who buy the pasta who actually go and have a look at where it comes from, or 5%?
It is a very good question, Colin. What I do remember is that when the GSM mobile phone was launched, 20 years ago, there was a research, and that indicated that most people said, "Oh, I'm not going to buy a mobile phone because why should I carry one? I can simply wait until I'm home and then I'll make my phone calls, and I have an answering machine too." So, and now look at us today. I mean, there's nobody walking around without a mobile phone, and it's completely has become part of our lives. Whether that's going to happen with scanning labels of products, I don't know. But what I do very much see happening is that consumers are getting so much used to using their digital devices as a bridge to understand more about products. There's lots going on, as we know already, when consumers are shopping and they in the shop check prices of products, even food and beverage products, whether they can get them somewhere else cheaper and so forth. So step by step, this may start to become quite a normal behavior.
Yeah, I think you're introducing an interesting perspective here, which is we've been talking about a brand or a manufacturer doing this, but of course there is the retailer side to it as well.
Yeah.
I mean, as you know, recently there was the Expo in Milan that closed a couple of weeks ago, and in that Expo there was what was called the Store of the Future. It actually didn't seem too futuristic, but one of the things that you could do is you could pick up any product in the store and point the barcode to a TV screen, and by doing that, it would tell you exactly where the product came from and how it was made. So it was basically giving you the same sort of information that we've been discussing here from a brand perspective, but that was being done by the retailer. And the message really was, sometime in the future, consumers will be essentially checking almost every product they pick up. And you as a manufacturer, if you don't have that on your product, you're not going to sell. And I may not even put you on the shelves anymore because it may become a requirement for me as a retailer to actually stock your products. You've got to be 100% transparent. So you're probably right when you use the example of the mobile phone. We will probably end up checking everything, but it may be the retailers that drive it as much as the manufacturers.
Yeah, and I mean in that realm, if you start to scan that, the retailer may tell you, "Oh, Colin, you're buying this apparently every week. If you come next week's Friday, it's already in your basket. We put it in a place where you can pick it up, and then we've put already most of the things that you wanted to have in that basket, so you can more easily do your shopping. So, or we can connect to you at home and have other services related to this product or to this basket of products. So there's plenty of things that can be done around you as a consumer being connected to a product, either directly via the brand or directly via the retailer.
Yeah.
Okay, there is a bit of interference, certainly my end on the line, but what I plan to do is to write all of this up into a blog for the 7 Dots website anyway, so all of it will be in there. Is there anything else you want to add before we end the call and publish this to YouTube?
It would be good to hear comments from viewers and people who may be reading the blog. I'm sure there must be plenty of other experiences that people have these days, either as a consumer or in their professional lives. And we would love to hear from you. What do you think is happening? Where do brands go to in terms of connectivity? Is there a very substantial or very fundamental difference when looking at that from the fast-moving consumer goods domain versus the one of durables? We'd love to have a discussion about that topic because we think it's a very interesting one that's happening today.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so if you want to leave comments below, or as Pieter says, when we publish it on the blog, you can leave comments on there as well. Thank you for your time today, both.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was
Thank you.
a pleasure.
I'll go and prepare my pasta now.
Okay, enjoy.
Bye-bye. Thank you.